It was small, we were having a bigger one. That's so sweet.
Happy.
That's the best.
This is called faith.
O nosso volume tá muito. Se você vê que a gente estiver abaixo, só muita gente.
No, we can't do this. Because then it's going to bring the sound totally, and then we won't be able to use for the music.
Okay.
Or do we need it at all? Just leave it for this. Nothing, right?
I can't think of anything unless there's a video being played.
No, then. Oh, the internet, is it connected?
Oh, it should be. I've already connected it.
Yeah, I want to do it.
Sharing. So it's connected now.
Is it already?
It's connected already. Morning.
Morning.
And I'm Carol Correia Smith. In the name of the Spiritual Society of Virginia and Kardec Radio, we welcome you to our inspiring and therapeutic event. Before we start, we would like to kindly remind you to please turn off your cell phones.
Thank you. We would like to share with you that today's event is being webcast through Facebook Live and Kardec Radio. Now please make yourself comfortable as we invite you to join us and to listen to the national anthem. You ready for the national anthem?
Almost ready. Getting there.
You certainly don't want to hear me singing. So.
So hopefully we are already starting to feel many emotions. Many emotions are already surfacing from us. And a main emotion that comes from our deepest gratitude for God, the spirit mentors of SSVA and Kardec Radio, the loving and devoted team of both, the kind speakers who are here present, and the friends from the Inner Enlightenment Spiritist Society for making possible the therapeutic musical performances. Now we invite you to join us in a special acknowledgement to God. Please let us follow Paloma Peterson, member of the Spiritist Society of Virginia.
Let us take this moment to connect with the spirit mentors. Dear Mother, Father God, we have so much to be grateful today. We're celebrating 10 years of the SSVA and 6 years of Kardec Radio. We are so inspired by the work that you have led us to help and motivated to the much more that is to come. We thank you from the bottom of your hearts for all of you that came, that made this possible. Let us keep our vibrations high, focused on all the learning that we have today. We ask kindly the spirit mentors to enlighten us, to keep us with our open mind and open hearts to what we're supposed to receive today. With your guidance, we're going to start today's service, and so be it.
Thank you, Paloma, for that inspirational moment. Now let's take a few moments to reflect on the purpose and the meaning of our event today. We're here to celebrate 10 years of the Spiritual Society of Virginia and 6 years for Kardec Radio. To give us a brief recap of that history, we have a short animation by Lewis.
I'm Denise Angeloni, President and Founder of the Spirit Society of Virginia. We're celebrating 10 years of the Spirit Society of Virginia. And it's amazing because I come from a Spiritist family. And on this very year, our family was also celebrating.
Pesquisa aqui. Ia dizendo ele quem.
We've already started our therapeutic event with your patience.
Nice.
The mentors know it all, as always, right?
Hi, I'm Denise Angeloni, President and Founder of the Spirit Society of Virginia. We're celebrating 10 years of the Spirit Society of Virginia. And it's amazing because I come from a Spiritist family. And on this very year, our family was also celebrating 100 years of the foundation of the Spiritist Center in the countryside of the state of São Paulo. Hi, I'm Vanessa Anceloni, President and Founder of the Spiritist Society of Virginia. We're celebrating 10 years of the Spiritist Society of Virginia. And it's amazing because I come from a Spiritist family, and on this very year, our family was also celebrating 100 years of the foundation of the Spiritist Center in the countryside of the state of São Paulo in Brazil, Centro Espírita Luz e Caridade. What a joy to imagine that 100 years later, we would have another center, but now in the United States of America. It all began when we were at the Spiritist Society of Baltimore. Can you believe the Spiritist Society of Baltimore is going to turn 20 years in the year 2018? Yes, we celebrated too, but now we're celebrating the 10 years of the SSVA. And it all began when we were in Baltimore, when we were working at University of Maryland. I was there in my office, working on my scientific research, very focused. When I received this vision, I observed a beautiful screen and tall ships coming with white-robed entities. And a spirit friend, Joseph, told me, Vanessa, it's about time to reach out to our friends in Virginia and form a Spiritist nucleus right there. And after many steps, we made it. Blessed by the loving and kind spirits of the beyond, the Spiritist Society of Virginia was then created on June 19th, 2007. Later, we incorporated it as an educational non-profit organization on January 3rd, 2011. Of course, our goals are to spread the teachings of Spiritism as codified by Allan Kardec, to raise spiritual awareness in our community, and also to reach out to people all around the world. Today, 10 years later, we boost not only our own well-being, but the well-being of our community, empowering everyone's spiritual growth. The SSVA today is the headquarters and the main sponsor of Kardec Radio and also of the Spiritist magazine. We also have several outreach programs that help at-risk mothers through our collaboration with organizations such as the Birthright of Leesburg. We also help those who are in prisons through our collaboration with the OAR, and homeless in Washington, D.C. with our collaboration with the Essene Church of Bethesda. The Spiritist Society of Virginia is also the foundational effort of the first Spiritist group in Washington, D.C., which turned a year. And through our efforts, several groups are receiving support around the world. One of the most important services we have been focusing upon is the educational efforts. Educational efforts help parents around the globe through the International Coalition of the Spiritist Support for Parents. We also brought into the United States firsthand the first educational method for teaching Spiritism to babies and their parents. Yes, you're right. There is a lot more to be done, but we're very happy that we've come this far and very grateful for all those who collaborated in two realms to make this happen. Keep joining us because this is just the first step, and who knows what's ahead of us. Many blessings.
So through the guidance of the spirit mentors of the SSVA and Kardec Radio, we were invited to compose this event inspired by the book Thought and Life by the Spirit Emmanuel through the medium Chico Xavier. The book Thought and Life is, in Emmanuel's words, a simple series of spoken directives the spirits use in their work, instructions given in our schools of regeneration to those preparing for a new birth.
In that manner, our event will be composed of two main moments, of messages interlaced by musical performances as means to deepen our feelings regarding the instructions of the superior spirits. At about 1 o'clock, we will give a lunch and coffee break, then we will resume the second block at 2:15 or so. Now let us enjoy the musical performance by Eddie Christie from the Inner Enlightenment Spiritist Society of New York.
this first therapeutic moment, we will be inspired by Emmanuel's ideas on thought as a mirror of life, the power of will and cooperation, and the importance of family to unfold a successful reincarnation. To help us with this understanding, we will count on talks by Dr. Vanessa Anceloni, President Founder of the SSVA and Kardec Radio, followed by Adriano Barbo Ferreira, President Founder of the Mount Vernon Spiritist Center in New York, which also turned 10 years this year. Wow! Then Leonardo Vieira, Director of the Spiritist Society of Valport, and Lia Gouveia, Vice President of the Spiritist Society of North Beach. To begin this first therapeutic moment, let us listen to the musical performance by the Caravan of Love from the Inner Enlightenment Spiritist Center, Spiritist Society of New York.
Which also turned 10 this year.
Congratulations! Yay.
Much more than a musical performance, we'd love this to be more of a musical interaction, so please sing with us. Sing along. Sorry. And I'll try not to do that.
You probably know the song. Can you guys see the screen?
You should turn the light.
Yes.
Ah. Mark, I'm going to ask you to press play. Sure. When I give a count to you. Okay, sure. And if you think it's too loud, just go here and control that. It's all the way in the bottom. So guys, you know the song, Louis Armstrong, What a Wonderful World. It evokes the beautiful parts of this planet, right? Connection with nature. So the lyrics are there, the evocative image is there. Please sing with your heart. Let us this not be a performance, but a participation that's very active by all of you. Yeah?
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue, and clouds of white, the bright skin, our sacred night, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty.
Okay, the children can now adjourn
Adjourn.
to their wonderful learning session. A little bit of play, too.
Bye, kids. So cute.
Enjoy, friends.
I'm enjoying it.
No? Hi, everybody that's watching online.
All right, friends. So, when the spirit mentors of the SSVA asked us to be here today, it was mostly, as our MCs were saying, Karen and John, as a therapeutic moment for both realms. The book Thought in Life, Pensamento e Vida, is very thin, very encouraging, especially nowadays. But this book is really different. It's different because Emmanuel says in the preface that he wrote 1958 through Chico Xavier, that he wrote spoken directives that they use in the afterlife, in the spiritual realm, preparing people to reincarnate. The question is, did everybody take the course? Well, don't worry. We can do it today. We still have time. But the beauty of it all is that they summarized it in 30 chapters for us, in chapters that are like pretty much like a page long. And they talk about the essential elements of life that we cannot miss when we are reincarnating. So after the Spirit's book, Kardec's books, we can tell there is a book that is kind of a manual. It's a manual for us if we want to get this right in this reincarnation. We don't want to waste time. We will inevitably, but without noticing. As Emmanuel says, out of ignorance. But we no longer can claim ignorance, not that much, not that much, this much, whatever it means. And Emmanuel begins on chapter 1 talking about the mirror of life. What is the mirror of life? The mind. It's very interesting because when we were studying at 11 p.m., right, Teresa? And friends, Adilson, Fred, and Isabella, and Patrice, and so many friends here, we heard this sentence: the mind stands as the mirror of life in all places. Why is Emmanuel saying this to us? I don't think he's saying this because it's too much for us. He's not teaching equations to children who cannot process what equations are. So if today we're breaking down the teaching of these equations, it's because we're ready for it. Ready for what? The responsibility. As our friend Sonia Christie said to me yesterday, she introduced some of Spiritist books to friends, and a friend said, it's fantastic, but I don't want the responsibility. Right, Sonia? And that's what majority of people do. They don't want this responsibility. The more we study, the more responsible. The more we engage, the more responsible. The more we are committed, the more really committed we become. Meaning we have to change. Who wants to change? And then everybody raises their hand. But now, not now. Sunday is not a day to change anything, right? But Emmanuel is telling us our mind is the mirror, becomes the mirror of life. Which means today is a byproduct of what I've created in my mind yesterday. Tomorrow will be what we're going to make today. Make of it. But it doesn't begin with the person that is seated next to me. It begins with my thoughts and feelings. So Kardec asked this question. What is a spirit? Can you give us an explanation? What is it? Like an idea, visual? And the Spirit said, you know, the best we can say is like we're flames. So no matter if you're here or in Florida, California, we have the warmth inside of us, independent of the weather. But the flame, meaning we're not the physical body that is seated here or standing or elsewhere, the friends over the internet. They're not there and we're here. They may be closer to us than people who are physically close to us now. Because we're spirits. Now we visualize ourselves right now as a vibrating being. If you could have pen and paper, visualize yourself. Forget the physical body, but like a flame. What color would you give to your flame, to you as a flame? How do you see yourself as a flame? You can say something, yeah. Purple. What else? Orange. Blue. Yellow.
I like to think I'm golden.
Lucy. There you go.
I love
Why not?
golden. I love sun. What
The
can
sun.
I say? I'm very ambitious.
The golden flame. There isn't a better analogy to the divine flame than the golden flame.
Mhm.
But other colors, any color that you like.
Light green.
Light green. Is there any other color we haven't said that you may think of a flame, spirit flame?
White?
White. Pink. Come on, don't be shy. Pink. Don't be shy. I know many of you are like, pink. Why not? Pink it is. Pink it is. So this is us. Now breathe in and out and feel it. I am this flame. I am this flame. I'm not restricted to where the body is. I'm not restricted to, oh, I have to be here in this place or there in the other place. I am free. How do we know? Kardec asked this question. What is the ultimate freedom? The freedom of thought. Absolute freedom. The freedom of thought. Back in 1857, the Spirit said something that later, in 1958, Emmanuel brings that to the surface and says, remember, it's your thought. But he didn't mean thought, the cognition, the intellectual, the reasoning. He's talking about the production of the mind, which is primarily vibratory. So oftentimes we're like, what can I do to help this person? Bits of vibration. What can I give? Before even the smile, it's my vibration. I can give my vibration. But they won't know how they will feel it. Professor Eurípides Barçanufo, who certainly is working with Christ and at the vanguard of education on the earth, he, back in the first 2 decades of the 20th century, he brought to us that it's all about feeling. And he says, you don't need to teach people about right or wrong, but ask them to feel what is right and feel what is wrong. They will immediately know it. Take somebody to a pub. Oh, my friends are there and drinking. Now bring them here. My friends are there too, no drinking, but the water, the spiritual water. And they're like, yeah, but I enjoyed that, but this feels different. This feels easy to digest, easy to process, easy. When I go home, I still feel up. I feel it doesn't stay in this temporary happiness, like when you go to the movie theater and you watch a comedy. You go home like, I want to laugh more, but the movie is ended. But then we take these feelings to immortality. And even science shows to us that a simple stimulus can make us feel right back to that moment we have experienced. So Emmanuel says, if you are reincarnated, don't forget your mind, your thoughts and your feelings are everything. He says, we want to read a few excerpts because this book is the manual for us. In its ascension from the earth plane towards God, under the leadership of Christ, the mind may be compared to the rough diamond excavated from the dark interior of the earth, which under the guidance of the stone cutter advances towards the magnificence of the light. This is our destiny. No, but I don't feel good about myself. But people don't accept me as I am. If you change your thought, you change your life. It's perception. Studying pain for many years, more than 2 decades, in the laboratory, we know pain is subjective. It's a byproduct of perception, like anything in life. But Leon Denis, way before neuroscientists started investigating pain and figured that pain is perception, he said pain is law in your planet. Why? Because we have to change the way we see things. Some people read that statement and they feel doomed to suffer. But that's not what Leon Denis said. He said, if we keep thinking like we've been thinking for the many reincarnations, we will suffer. Not because life is punishing us, but because we are not seeing the wonderful world that exists. Right now, in this minute, I know if we were walking outside in nature, it would probably be easier. Or not. But in this moment, let's try to find beauty and harmony. Who would like to share something in this room that you find like extraordinarily beautiful?
Waterfalls.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so love is love, right? The eyes of love. Thank you, Carol. Besides Bridget. Dulce.
Newborn.
Newborn.
And it's the most precious thing. It's when you hold a newborn, it's like it's the connection that you have direct with God. Can be your own baby, it can be somebody else's baby.
When they are quiet.
When they are quiet, and even what, because I watch kids for over 10 years, and I have a baby since 2 months when usually they come to my care. When they are, usually kids cry for two reasons, where they are neglected or they are in pain. That's two reasons.
Thank you, Dulcie. But in this room,
we all together learning.
that's the beauty for you. Thank you. Other things.
The flowers that you sung God for us.
These flowers are unbelievable. Signatures of God.
The real flowers were those ones that were on the video that were playing before.
Oh, yeah.
Unbelievably beautiful.
Beautiful.
Something we cannot see, but we just heard the music. There's still is there.
Right? All of our senses, thank you, Bob. With all of our senses, we can assess this beauty. We
Have
can
Eddie
see
play.
Eddie play.
The most beautiful thing.
That our friends Fred, Patrice, and Isabella played. It stays with us in our perceptions. And Emmanuel says a little more before we go over to the slides. He says, we vibrate, and there is a mutual interchange that vibrates throughout every realm of the universe. And he says, our mental reflexes set the stage for the reaction of emotions. Emotions create ideas. Ideas determine attitude. Words that command our actions. So here's the sequence. Mental reflexes. Mental reflexes is originated by vibration, our evolutionary state. So that's why we need to make an effort to create higher levels of vibration. It's not easy, and if we say to our children that it is easy and it's supposed to be easy, we won't be preparing them for the real deal, which is make effort. André Louis says in the book Evolution in Two Worlds, we learn through two movements, effort and repetition. Mental reflexes are what we are, what we vibrate. It's the instinct inside of us, what we've acquired thus far. So of course we're going to constantly gravitate to the old, to the old, to the old. I can't get rid of this addiction. And you won't if you don't make an effort and you don't repeat that effort of something different. But I want to be calmer. But have you visualized yourself calm? No, I can't. Then you won't. But it's hard. Well, but that's the effort. When it's hard, like going to the gym, I don't like weightlifting, but we have to. Weightlifting requires effort, and that effort, when repeated, creates muscle. Emmanuel is saying, we are going to vibrate what we have acquired through many lives. So of course, when they are born babies, thank you for the analogy of babies, they're born, we forget. And it's good that we forget, because majority of people would not handle if they knew who those babies were. Because parents barely see little bits coming up and they're already smashing the children. They're like, I can see stubborn, labeling. And that's just pushing them down. Even if I don't say to my child, if I think my child, I'm not going to say it, but I feel it. If I don't believe in that child, who will? I mean, of course, God and Jesus and the guardian angels, but the mission we have at hand. like the mother of St. Augustine. She is the example of what it is to think and co-create. She looked at a man that had potential, but drunk, womanizing, doing all the things you can imagine. But as a good mother, who knows that the child is to be reconnected to God consciously, she was constantly praying and aiming. No, my son will, Saint Monica, my son will turn it around and become a good child of God. She prayed day in, day out, visualizing the effort. She would see the opposite. It takes effort. No, this does not match this. I'll forget about it. But one day it will. And one day he did. And St. Augustine is one of the main spirits that brought the teachings of Spiritism to us. If you read the Spirit's book, the Gospel According to Spiritism, we're going to see St. Augustine at the forefront, bringing central messages, especially messages that talk about the evolution of our planet, the conditions of our planet, and how we're changing. He regenerated himself and comes back to help us in our own regeneration. And he's telling us it begins with parenting. Parents educating themselves to educate their children, educating themselves in their thoughts, in their feelings, disciplining. Then my mental reflexes will generate emotions. Those emotions will trigger ideas. And that's when, I remember recently in Brazil, a teenager telling me, she was saying, I'm watching this on Brazilian Netflix. What do you think? And I took a look. I was like, you're 12 and you're watching this? That's scary. I don't like it. No, but what's the problem? And I said, you're asking me, right? The problem is that right now, you don't feel anything. But the minute you're in trouble emotionally, those memories are going to come back. And since you know about Spiritism, we're going to add the spirits. The spirits know you have those set of images that are scaring your mind, and when you are emotionally vulnerable, they're going to push those buttons, and then you're going to trigger panic attack. Not today, because you're 12. You don't have the pressure yet on your shoulders, but when you do, that's when they are going to push the button. Don't eat junk food. It's junk. That is junk. It's like French fries for your body. It's like Coca-Cola for your body. One day, today doesn't hurt. In the long run, it destroys you. Digging deeper onto these ideas that Emmanuel says to us, we just want to show, Mark, the rule of the mind, as Emmanuel says. We know the famous sentence, seek and you find, teaches the gospel. And he says we may add, you will do what you wish. We are vibrating beings and we will feel what we are. If we want to change it, we need to make an effort. So everything, as Emmanuel explains to us, and later Andrea Luiz will bring in other forms, like in the book Action and Reaction, talking about our central desire. Our central desire. Joseph Murphy, one of the leading thinkers of this new era on the earth, he says, desire is prayer. Not only Spiritism concludes it, it's a universal law. What do I desire? Easy life. Easy life can be translated in Spiritism to one word. And I'll say this with the permission of the higher spirits who brought the books through Kardec and André Luiz. It's named laziness. I want to be lazy because easy is no effort. If I don't make an effort, I don't learn. So when they are in the belly, we already say the songs to them. You were born to help. You're born to serve. You're not born to rest. And there is no rest in peace. Rest in peace doesn't exist. If somebody dies, please don't write R.I.P., especially if you're spiritist. Doesn't make any sense. Because we learned that peace doesn't come out of rest. Peace is a byproduct of work, hard work. And the spirits say sacrificing work. They don't even say work. They say work that sacrifices the ego. Work that sacrifices, you see? Work that sacrifices your time here. Like that. So today, as we begin the journey together with our friends that will come and complement, okay? We need to ask this question to us. What is my central desire? Because if we don't know, the superior spirits and the inferior that watch us, they know. And they are there pushing those buttons. And they are there pushing those buttons. What is our central desire? What is it? Because that in itself is a vibration, is a vibrational mantra that is making me just like the computer. It's connected to the internet. I'm not seeing any cable. I cannot see the cables through which we're connected to the people here and there. But we're connected according to who we are, who we've been, and to what we desire. What do we desire? In Kardec, in the Medium's book, when he talks about the moral influence of the mediums, item 226 onwards, there is a particular sub-item 11 in which he says the condition to connect to higher spirits is be desiring of only the good. In a book that is yet to be in English, but is a must, Evangelho do Futuro by Dr. Bezerra de Menezes, under the pseudonym Max. Sometimes people don't know that he wrote novels and recently came to be published by the Brazilian Spiritist Federation. He has a beautiful character, an American spiritist, Dr. Caper. Dr. Caper, who was a spiritist physician with his son in a mission in Brazil. And Dr. Bezerra de Menezes wrote this when Brazil and the Spiritist Brazil was still in its first baby steps, but he was already ahead of us, talking about the American Spiritists who will return to teach Spiritism to the people in Brazil. And not only teach, but exemplify. And there is a moment, because Dr. Caper, as an American Spiritist, he's really, not only he's wealthy, what a combination, huh? People are like, wow. But Dr. Bezerra shows he's one of the wealthiest Americans, and he's in a mission in Brazil. He became acquainted with Spiritism. He's medium, and he's doing so much good. And there's a moment somebody says, Dr. Caper, you're such a good person. You're making miracles happen. He says, you know, I wish. I'm doing this good because I have personal interest in seeing this, that, and that person well. Because to really do the good would be to do the good for the good, and I'm not there yet. But that's our goal. When people ask, why you're doing this? Because of Virginia? No, because the good is good. And it feels good. That's our goal. And don't be shy. I'm not going to sing, because I know we're going to sing that song soon. Let it shine, and don't be shy. But right now, we know what we desire is vibration. And that's why we desire one thing, and life happens to the other direction. We don't know ourselves. But why, Vanessa, this is happening to me? Why nothing moves forward? Maybe deep inside I want to be in the comfort zone. I don't want to change. There's a price. You may lose friends because not everybody's going to be with you in your change. Can you afford it? Can you afford not being understood like Paul of Tarsus? Majority of people can't. It's hard. It's hard to love yourself to the point that everybody turns you down when you keep going to the right direction. It's easier to stay with the friends in addictions, in the old habits, and kind of being loved, but actually that's mediocre. For a child of God, that's mediocrity, because we're keeping ourselves, deterring ourselves from progressing in the illusion that these people and I are good friends. And says Dr. Bezerra de Menezes in one of the most striking pieces of literature I've read in Spiritism. He says, comparing two cultures, and this is a teaser, purposeful teaser, because we're in the United States. He says, in the United States, people see progress and they appreciate it, not necessarily elsewhere. And he gives a name to that elsewhere. And that's a Brazilian politician writing a spiritist novel and giving us a firm statement about cultural impediments to progress. Why we're saying this? Because we can move forward knowing that we will pay a price for it. We'll make new friends, but not necessarily we'll take the other ones with us for now. So what do we desire the most? Do we know? Probably we don't know. Psychology says most of it is in the unconscious or the subconscious. We know a little bit, yeah, I want to go to school and do this, take that degree and work on that, but deep inside, only God knows what we really want to do. If we just were courageous enough to face ourselves and tell society, I know you appreciate this, but that doesn't make me happy. That doesn't fulfill me. That's on my journey. Thank you. Like Hahnemann, he saw the conditions of medicine at his time, and he was courageous to say, no thank you, I don't want to practice this failed medicine anymore. He stopped. Of course, he had to earn a living, and he started translating through the translations because he was truthful to himself. He was on the right track. He found this dissertation that led him back to medicine. So of course he was supposed to be medicine, but not at this time, not at that time, not that way. Because of his courage to find the real pathway, he got to where he is. So committed to the truth that he connected his heart to the team of the Spirit of Truth, bringing to us the teachings of Spiritism. Hahnemann is committed to the truth. Spiritism is the truth, is connected to the truth, is the pathway, is the promised consoler. So all these spirits, they had their journey. Like Ben Franklin. How can we celebrate today 10 years of the SSVA, Kardec Radio, without talking about the mentor of Kardec Radio, Ben Franklin? And we know Ben Franklin had, when he was in that last reincarnation, his pathway. And some people laugh at me and say, come on, Ben Franklin as a spirit? Well, he had a lot of love in his heart. He just didn't know what to do with it. And we respect that. But he was a genius of the human mind. He was searching for the truth. No wonder he connected to the team of the Spirit of Truth that brought Spiritism to us, and still does, to the world. His central desire was to bring progress. Hahnemann was looking for a real way to heal. St. Augustine was also in search of the meaning of life. They found it. Now they are friends, teaming up and helping. What about us? What is our central desire? It's not about the house that we need to buy, or the car, or the job, or the money. It's beyond that. What is our central desire? We need to find out. If we don't know, the obsessors will know. Mm-hmm. And as André Luiz says in the book Action and Reaction, they will push that button until they see us down. It's our choice to know and use for the best of our abilities, turn it around if we don't think it's healthy, or somebody else will, because we're vibrating. It's like internet here. You enter and your phone already recognizes there is another network. And it's blinking in your phone saying, do you want to connect to this one? This is us. This is us. Our central desire is making connections, and is asking, do I want to make connections? Do I want to connect? It depends. So why are you connected to these people, not those people? Sometimes a good thing to know who we are when we observe the people, the habits, and the reasons why we're connected to them. It's impossible to be close friends with a criminal and claim, I'm not a criminal. According to Freud, you may not physically do it, but emotionally, psychologically, we may perform the same crimes. But my friends like drugs, not me. But why are you friends of theirs? Because they're nice. But aren't there other nice people around that are healthier? But Vanessa, what about them? They're going to be alone. Okay, so you want to rescue them? So then your attitude's going to be different. You're not there enjoying their company. You're there helping them. That's what Emmanuel told Chico. In life, you need to learn that there are two people, those you're going to help and those that are going to help you. You need to identify the moment you're living in and which of the two you're experiencing. Because you cannot learn with those you need to help and try to teach to those they're supposed to teach you. It's counterproductive. And there are people who are like this. They find Divaldo Franco. And they're like, Divaldo, you know, the spirits told me a new theory of the mind. And we're going to attempt to teach Divaldo something that he's supposed to teach us. That's the level of illusion of the mind. And there are people who are asking discarnate spirits of low order guidance for their lives. It's inverted. So here it's not working now. We can
forward to the next. Yep. Thank you. There, thank you. So here we learn, as I wrap up so other friends can come and join us, because we're going to stop precisely where Adriano is going to come in and lead us to. Will. Our thought, inevitably, is continuous. We're here constantly creating. What are we creating? It's being emitted, creating thought forms constantly, our feelings, our thoughts. And Kardec says that according to our will, those thoughts will become condensed and they will saturate the molecules of our spiritual body and they will materialize according to our will. So when some person comes to us and says, I cannot do this, they actually are saying, I don't want to do it. Because if they want to do it, they will. They will work on it. We're talking about emotional growth. We're not talking about physical achievements. Though Raul Teixeira was recently in the United States, and he gave a full 1 hour talk in Florida, showing to us the power of will. And there are people who haven't had his challenge, the stroke. And on those many years, no progress was made. Showing to us that if there is a will, there is a way. Who says it? Me? No. The higher spirits. It's not enough to know who we are and that we can co-create with God. We need to be willing to do it. Right, friends? How can we feel this will? So please go ahead.
You guys know this song, right? It's one of Vanessa's favorite songs. And Virginia knows the song too, right, Virginia? So let's see if you can sing it. It's only a minute long. So we're going to sing it once to warm up the voice as a rehearsal. And then we'll sing it for real as a second time. How's that? Yeah? Ladies, want to take it away?
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Everybody put your hands together.
Oh. Little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
All right, we turned on the stove. The fire is going. Now we have to fan it and make it really shiny. Yeah? Now for real.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Come on now.
Bravo!
Okay. Good morning, flames.
Good morning. Flames.
On all flames here, and let our light shine. Right?
Yeah.
So I do my best so I can shine a little bit over here. So many stars here. My light will be. Oh, he gonna change.
Yeah, I can change
Oh,
things.
thank you, Flame.
Flame.
It's okay to speak anywhere. So I feel really. All right.
Ah.
Ah. Oh, thank you very much, everyone. And I feel really joyful to come and join you all, stars here today, so we can share the teachings of Spiritism. And this teaching which we found in this book, Thought and Life, this book has been with me since I started Spiritism. Actually, before I started Spiritism in my life, it was the first book that I ever bought, and I came to read it much later on, like years later, because I just bought it because of the cover was showing. Yeah, the cover was so suggestive. Was showing two young guys, one girl and one boy, thinking. And then, since I'm so thoughtful, some way I like it and I bought it. But later on, I started reading it, and still today, it is something very special for my heart. And to come in here and share with you this talk that Vanessa brought me to study and share is a great pleasure. Emmanuel, in this chapter, he is teaching us how we can strengthen our will and use our will for our own benefit to raise love and awareness everywhere we go. I'm gonna read here in my, because I can't see there. Emmanuel makes some comparison here for us to understand what is will for us. So the first paragraph he says like this: we can compare the human mind, which is the living mirror of an awakened consciousness, to a large house subdivided into several departments. Can you put next slide? Can you just like go? You can put all of them. Okay. Yes. So he brought like this, and just a few subdivision and division that we may have in our mind: desire, ideals, imagination, memory, sensitivity, and intelligence. So what Emmanuel is telling us in here, our mind is divided in many cabinets, in many divisions, and he gave us some examples here: imagination, intelligence, sensitivity, memory. So there is many and many more divisions in our mind. That's what he says to us. We can pick like 10 more, 20 more. It's immense number of divisions in our mind. But he goes on so we can have a better picture what he's trying to say to us. But of all this, however, the most important cabinet the most important cabinet is the will. The will is the enlightened and vigilant manager that supervises all sectors of our mind activities. So that's the way Emmanuel summarized to us what is will. Will is a cabinet, but is the most important cabinet in our mind that supervises all the other cabinets. In the first slide, Emmanuel tells us that this cabinet is a mirror of our mind. It's awakened mind. It means that for this cabinet, for the will to understand and manage all the cabinets, our consciousness should be awakened, aware, lucid consciousness. Otherwise, all these cabinets is not aware, is full in some way of illusion. And then the manager of all these cabinets, of course, will be mystified, will have problems to manage all these cabinets. Let's suppose, for example, that the cabinet of imagination is not awakened, is not mirroring the real flame, the real spirit that we are as created by God. Is contaminated in some way with all vices. So in that way, the imagination itself is not pure. The creation that comes from imagination is not pure. In that way, the manager of this cabinet can't count in one cabinet fully, and in some way will have problem using the imagination to foster us to create something real noble, real divine. So in that way, our will depend on the qualities of all the other cabinets to foster an activity that reflects the real me, the real self that is so divine in us. There is another cabinet that I want to create in there that is so important to us that we can picture it now, so we can create it all together. Is the cabinet of knowledge. The cabinet of knowledge in which we are here all now filling it up. So when we have all the other cabinets like imagination, memory, intelligence, they will be guided by the knowledge we have. And we spiritists are fulfilling our cabinet of knowledge with good knowledge. The gospel knowledge, the spiritist knowledge, all transcendent knowledge, so we can manage and help our will to decide a better action to take in life. There are out there of us acting in the world using our will in some way. And there are people, including us sometimes, putting hard effort, using our will with our utmost power. But because of these cabinets, some are so empty, some are so contaminated with shadows, some are so fulfilled with wrong knowledge, distorted knowledge, and then the action in the word itself come wrongly or contaminated. We see people saying that they are doing the right thing. I put in effort, and they take like decades, years, life in one we're so strong to do. But it's in a way wrong. Because the cabinets inside the mind of the person is not fully awakened, pure as possible. The knowledge that the person have about him or herself is not the correct one. About the world, and that we can't complain. We don't have this excuse because we have been studying good knowledge, good teachings as we have in today. So all of our cabinets will be managed and it will be put it forth in action. We'll be changing and renewing every sector of our mind with the knowledge we have. And then, after having our cabinets organized, renewed, reanalyzed every day, like St. Augustine says, every day we should analyze ourselves and see what we could have been improved, what we have done wrong, and then that's the cabinets. I go to my imagination, what I've done with my imagination today. Wow, there I had something that was really just filling up space in my cabinet of imagination. My intelligence today, well, was a bit off. Why that? There was a bit of information that was not good. And then the creativity, the sensibility, and so forth. What is, some of our problem acting the word in the right precision and correct way? Because to do that is only pure spirit can do that. Because all cabinets is fulfilled 100% pure with the right knowledge, sensibility, all purified in that way, like Jesus acted 100% correct because he had all this cabinet pure, interacting with one another. Because as our friend is going to talk later, cooperation between the cabinets. What happened is that sometimes we evolve so much on the cabinets, we feel like the imagination so much, but the imagination needs sensibility, needs knowledge, needs memory to, spring forth it to the world. But then the imagination is not counting on those other cabinets. It's missing some things, and then in some way, my will, I want to do something with my imagination. I want it. I have something inside me telling me to do. But when I gonna count, I need intelligence for that. For example, the cabinet for intelligence. But throughout the years or other reincarnation, I didn't work it out nice. I didn't fulfill it nice, refining it. And then I need it now to speak to you, for example, and I will want to do it. But when I go there to the cabinet of intelligence and then, low down. And then I go to other cabinet that I need now to express myself, and then it's down. But one of it is higher, and then what happened is my presentation, my work in some ways compromised because my will, myself, is not having the appropriate tool to manifest. Like I am, I'm a carpenter. And a good tool makes the whole difference in a work. A good balanced hammer will make a perfect tool for a carpenter. Yes, with modern tools, yes. But if I don't have none of this, my work is compromised, is in problem. So that all these cabinets should be revised constantly, so my will, my activity in the world, if I want it, is correct. And we can correct our will by having it organized. Otherwise, we are most of our life doing things. Doing things, yes. Sometimes people have good will, not good will, strong will, but bad things, because will can be put forth in any activity that the human being wants to. But if this will is not educated according to the cabinets that is refined with the virtues, and then the will is the activities like we see, wars, persecution, betrayal, all kinds of evil is being done with strong will, but this will is not educated at all according to the principles of love. So in that way, we learn in Spiritism that we should awaken our mind. And awakening our mind is to mirror God in us, to the world. As Jesus said, we are created as a image of God. Image of God. We mirror in some way God's qualities throughout us. And when we awake, the more we awake our conscience, the more we mirror the will of God. And then we are aligning our will with the will of God. Because above our will, there is the will of God. And then when we are acquiring, when we are developing our virtues, and then we are aligning with the will of God, the person doesn't necessarily have to ask God if the will of God, if us are acting with virtue, with love, with understanding, all the good qualities are included in our actions, and then is that the will of God. It's aligned with the will of God. But the problem is that those cabinets that we're talking about is contaminated in some way. Some are more evolved, some are less. Some we don't have anything in there. And then there is gaps, fractures, I guess, between the cabinets, and the communications are cut off all the time. The more information, the more correct thing that we have in those cabinets, the more virtues interacting what we have in there, the easier is the connection, the faster it is. Sometimes we take a very long time to decide something and to do something because we're taking long to feel it, to think correctly, to analyze, to picture the future and so forth. Why? Because that has to go to the cabinet of imagination, and then to the cabinet of reason, and then the cabinet of this and that, and then it's missing. It's gaps everywhere, and then it takes a long time, and then miss the quality, and then when it comes to the action, sometimes it's too late. Somebody needs help, but because there's all these fractures in our mind, and then my help, my share to others is too late. Why? Then the Spirit is coming to us now at this moment, so we can really make our mind holier, so our will in life can be, oh my God, our will. Let's read the next one, please. So, okay. Without the will, desire may... my thing here. Can somebody help me reading?
Sure.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Without the will, Desire may err and go astray, incurring debts requiring centuries of suffering and restitution. Intelligence may be caught in the vices of criminality. Imagination may create dangerous monsters of darkness and memory, although faithful to its function of registering what it receives in conformity with the destination given to it by nature, may fall into deplorable neglect and inefficiency. Only the will is sufficiently strong to sustain the harmony of the spirit.
So, as according to a man I've discussed a little bit here, is making the fusion between the cabinets, is sustaining our personality. It can stop us to think for itself, but can regulate it. It can educate our thoughts, our emotions, our sentiments. That's the function of the will. Without our will, a strong will, and then we'll be in real trouble. That's why sometimes we could be much more advanced in all realms of our life, humanity itself. However, our will were sometimes not acted accordingly or not acted using it at all. We want to be lazy. Our cabinets is fulfilled with lazy. Is a virus in our cabinets that is destroying the connections. And then sometimes our will is, like I told before, mystified. It's correct thing to curse somebody because somebody was like disturbing my peace. It's a mystified will that we act upon the other. And in humanity we have thousands of examples, good examples that stand out in history that used will correctly as most as they could and produce so, could say here, wonders for us. In this country, we have Abraham Lincoln, for example, with a strong will, educated will, perception of the word, lucidity. He, with sacrifice, with love, he, could reach an amendment that freed in some way, started the freedom and continuation of the freedom to thousands and millions of people with a strong will. Nelson Mandela, for example, he had a strong will and used his cabinets to help people in Africa that no one had the courage, no one had the capacity. Why? Because he had all this organized and had this strong will in a correct way. And we have the examples that we can use in here now. But we can use our will to heal ourselves. Since the topic here is more or less therapeutic, healing is a tremendous healing for us. If we use our will to raise our own awareness and our futures. In September, Vanessa, she was talking about the event here, and I thought she had given me a different topic, was humility. And I was counting to speak here today about humility, right? And then later on, some months later, that comes out to be the will. Well, it was in some way not it was not coincidence. It was a plan, I guess. I'm sure of it. Because when Vanessa told me to discuss about humility, I was like shocked in some way. Because I have tremendous problem with humility. A long time. I tell you, don't smile at that, because it is real true. Some friends for long years have told me that already. And some non-friends too. And I tell you, my mentor once told me in a ministry meeting, that's your gigantic problem, your greatest problem is that you're not humble. He said to me, if you humble yourself, use the therapeutic power of humble, all the doors in the world are going to open for you. All the doors. You're going to open for you. But you got to work on that. Well, I got him, but I didn't want to touch in it. I was kind of afraid, and I said to myself, I'm an average. Let it be the way it is. But when Vanessa told me about humility, I said, oh my God, now they are really want me to work on that. And then when I truly started analyzing myself, like this cabinet, what it is in me. And I tell you, over months I was thinking and working on that. And I saw myself as pathetic as anybody can figure it out. I was like, my God, how could I be seen that I was so blind? So blind, yes. And I was analyzing, thinking, and was discovering parts of me, layers after layers. And I start, how could I improve with that? I had, just to let you know here, I brought some slides here. I want to complement my, with the will, because it is related to will. It's because of will that we can improve our futures. Without will, there's no improvement. So go on the other slide. So let's see how Emmanuel is telling you. So you can see how I'm telling you the truth about myself. My volunteer.
Okay. Whenever there's a lack of humility, that is essentially the acknowledgement of our smallness before the universe, the result is a blockage of one's feelings, leading to manifestations such as pride, covetousness, selfish and vanity, that are responsible for discord and all sorts of delinquency. Lack of humility can drive people to acts of insanity when faced by passionate conflicts.
Yeah. I saw myself in all this, my friends. Tell you the truth, that it was real then. And when I was working in it, when I was having trouble figuring out better ways to be humble. And I started using the humbleness acts in my life since then. I had, throughout years, I had like health issues not discovered by doctors, like overall pain in my body. It was the most thing that I ever had many years. Since I started working humble therapy, I tell you, my level of stress goes down a lot. My irritability with others came down, a lot too. And my pains in my body lowered a lot. My lucidity and my thoughts came much brighter, much more like reasonable for people to understand. My interaction with the world came much more peaceful in some way. I was having much trouble too. I still have it. And then I was figuring out with the Spirit, how could I work this out? And then when she told me about the topic of will, like came the voice in my ear. So that's what you need, my friend. Will. Yes, will. You having trouble? You having real trouble with that? And then you use your will, organize your cabinets, and then this humble therapy, I could say that way, it's like acquisition throughout acts, words, and so forth. It will come to you. But without your will, you can't acquire it. Do it. When Emmanuel tells us, when you see the universe, I usually go to the planetary show of the dark universe, where they show the universe. It's so grandiose, so beautiful, stars, planets, galaxies, Milky Ways, and so forth. When I come out there, I see my smallness, my littleness. But at the same time, paradoxically saying to you, I see myself valid and valued to the world. And I see all this, and that's my Father. that God created this for me. It's not because the world, the people, the universe is so beautiful and grandeur that I'm nothing. It makes me even more valuable, more, in some way larger in some perspective. And then all these nonsense activities of the world, of nonsense thoughts, shadows, evilness, it in some way has less effect on me and more effectiveness in my work. Wherever I go, that's my thought goes for. Let's read the next one so it can.
Okay. Humility is not subservience. It is primarily independence and inner freedom, springing from the depths of one's spirit, sustaining its continuous renewal towards goodness. To cultivate it is to advance without attachment, to project the best of oneself towards others, to forget all evil, and joyfully begin once more the task of love.
Once came this lady to our spiritual center some months ago. I could see that she were real troubled. Real trouble. Like 5 minutes to start the lecture, and I got a seat for her, and she couldn't be, settled in. Just moving the chair. I said that she was unquiet and uncomfortable. At the end of the lecture, she came to me, and then we went to our fraternal counseling, and asked her what I could help, what was troubling her, and so forth. And she started telling me her life, her problems, with her brothers, doctors, dentists, a huge amount of problems. He got some minutes to tell me that. I was so perplexed with her amount of problems, but I was more surprised though. It's at the end of her, her dialogue, what she told me, and she stopped it and looked at me and she asked like this: what you can do for me to help me? What you can do to help me? In a fraction of a second, all her trouble like sliding up, like a movie in my pictures. Oh my God! I have in front of me a child problem. What can I do for her? She didn't ask me what Spiritism can do for me, what the gospel, what Jesus can do for me, what God can do for me. I felt like saying, what Spiritism can do something for you, if you think in Jesus. But she asked me what I, Adriano, can do for her in that moment. In that moment. And my thoughts came inside of me, and I, searched all my cabinets. Oh my God. I don't have anything for her. It's that moment I realized the grandeur of God. God is giving her everything in every moment fully for her. And me, she asked me what I can do. At this moment, the second I found anything. Well, and then I remembered in the gospel when it says about Peter and I guess Tiago.
James,
thank you. I guess Peter and James. They were going to Jerusalem. When they were entering Jerusalem, they faced a beggar, in the sidewalk, like disabled, and this beggar were asking them help, like any money that they could give him, and then Peter and James, tried to find something in their pocket, and just found nothing. Well, and Peter and Thomas just said, well, the only thing we can do is hug you. Well, that came to my mind. I said to her, I can hug you. I can hug you. That's the only thing I can do for you. I'm sorry. And then it was so spontaneous that I just got out of my my chair. She got like, I saw that she was like surprised. She was an American lady, you know, an old lady, and she was like, oh, and she was okay. This is spiritual hug that we do, like not as strong as a deal so one. And I go to her and I hug it to her and said, "Oh, I'm sorry. That's all I can do for you now." And so she said, "Okay," and she's gone. She gone. And so I went home. Oh my God, you were the God. Really? I know that you're the God now because me. This lady went in some way home empty, if you're not your love. But to my surprise, I thought she would never come back to the center again. And to my surprise, she's still coming back regularly now. And she's so much better now with the teachings, the lectures, and everything. And then that's when come to me, they state the practice in some way of humbleness, because when we confront such questions to us, and that's when, like, you know, we truly see that those cabinets are in some way empty. And Jesus, all his actions were perfect example of will and humbleness. To the end here, I got two examples of Jesus for us. Not only Jesus, but the people that he healed. Jesus always asked to the people, what you want for me? That Jesus meant that they had to use their will to be healed. To see again, to stand straight again. What do you want? I want to be healed. I want to see again. And Jesus said, okay, that will be done according to your will, according to your faith. It means that the person had to find inside of them and use their will for something. Otherwise, in their way, they use it correctly to be healed. One good example is that woman that they say in the gospel, I don't know where exactly, but you're going to remember the case. The bleeding woman that looked for Jesus in a crowd, those hundreds of people, and she had so much power and willingness to be cured. She went closer to Jesus and taught his best. And she got healed. And Jesus, who taught it me? That was the case. In some way, Jesus could be aware of the fact that she was looking for him, but in the sense he wasn't. Her will cured her, healed her only by touching Jesus, saying to us that our will can perform miracles in us if we do it correctly. And the last one to wrap here. That shows the correctly of willingness of Jesus and humbleness of Jesus. This case in which this family had a little daughter and she got sick, and the father went to search for Jesus, and some days later they brought Jesus to heal this little girl. When Jesus got to home, there's crowds of people in front of the home, and said, Jesus, you came too late because she is dead. And Jesus said, she's not dead, she's sleeping. And people mock at Jesus. You don't know that we know what is death? But Jesus said, I know what is life, you know what is death. And he went through the crowd, went to the room with the little girl, and said to the girl, awake, come back. And then she did, obeyed Jesus. Jesus took her in his loving arms and gave to the parents, to their joy, to their contentment. So they picked up the relative, father and mother, picked up the girl, and went outside to show the girl for the people that the girl was indeed alive. After all, the surprise, they looked for Jesus and found nowhere. Jesus were gone by the back door. Well, that shows a lot about Jesus. Because Jesus could have said a lot of things to those people. Came in front, see, I told you she was sleeping. You didn't believe me. See, I'm the one with God. But Jesus was silent. He used his will, and he performed his work silent, humbly. He did it correct and gone. He didn't want the applause. The people say, oh yes, you're the one because you healed, we fought it, we're wrong. No, he didn't want none of that. He just wants to accomplish and do the will of God. That's all he wanted. And that, I guess, we are educating ourselves to fulfill the will of God on earth. Thank you.
To complement Adriano's reflection about the will and strengthening the will, we wanted to offer a song that captures this strengthening, this exercising of the will. And it's a very famous song, you all know it. Now, let's not take the words literally, because it's referring to a lot more things than just flying. Not literally flying, but facing and overcoming every single challenge in our life, facing and overcoming every single person we're struggling with, facing and overcoming any and all addictions, facing and overcoming the current situation in our country, anything that we're meeting with resistance. Let's use this song as a moment to strengthen that will in that very powerful way that Adriano describes. And with that, we're going to use music, and we would ask that you please join us in singing it as heartfelt and as intensely as possible.
Cannot go on, and life was nothing but an awful song. But now I know the meaning of true love. I'm leaning on the everlasting arms. If I can see then I can do it. think about it every night and day. Spread my wings and fly away. I believe I can soar. I see me running through that open door. I believe I can fly. I believe I can fly. I believe I can fly. See, I was on the verge of breaking down. Sometimes silence can seem so loud. The miracles in life I must achieve. First I know it starts inside of me. If I can see it, then I can be it. If I just believe it, there's nothing to it. I believe I can fly. I believe I can touch the sky. Think about it every night and day. Spread my wings and fly away. I believe I can soar. See me running through that open door. I believe I can fly. I believe I can fly. I believe I can fly. 'Cause I believe in me. If I can see it, then I can do it. If I just believe it, there's nothing to it. Come on, everybody. I believe I can fly. I believe I can touch the sky. I think about it every night and day. Spread my wings and fly away. I believe I can soar. I see me running through that open door. I believe I can fly. I believe I can fly. I believe I can fly. If I just spread my wings, I can fly. 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 Spread my
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
We can do better. Good afternoon.
Good
everyone.
afternoon.
Good afternoon. Much better. Thank you. As many of us already heard, Vanessa gave several examples. Adriano also gave several examples that we don't live by ourselves. A little louder. Better? We don't live by ourselves. We don't do things by ourselves. But Vanessa also reminded us that through repetition, we find perfection, correct? So we're going to repeat ourselves a little bit. We'll talk about the supply and demand of cooperation and help one another, hopefully have a better understanding on how we are connected, how we depend on one another. As Vanessa had actually asked and mentioned to us, this is a therapy of moment. We will use some numbers, let's say, works of economics, but it's mainly for us to illustrate a little bit on how we need one another again. So don't fall asleep with me. Just hang in there, and we'll make a point, okay? Can we go back?
Oh, sure.
Not yet.
Not yet. Too early.
If I were to ask you right now to turn to your partner, obviously if they're not here or not, or anytime, and ask your partner, am I demanding? Am I a picky person? What do you think the answer will be?
Yep. Yes.
Yes. No?
Yes.
Trying to say no, we're not picky at all, right?
Yes.
Vanessa also mentioned that we put in our tombs when we die, rest in peace. It's not us, it's our partners, right? Because they're like, rest in peace now. You're so picky that now you need to rest, right? It is our reality, and it's okay. I will tell you that it's okay. We, as we mentioned, we can go to, it's very easy for us to analyze, and thank God the group here is already connecting with me and saying, yes, we're picky. There's nothing to it, right? It's us exercising what Adriano just mentioned, our will. There's nothing to it. We do so much that we create more necessities, more wants that we need, and we create something that we find in economics. We can go to the next one. A term called scarcity, right? Which is the situation in which unlimited wants exceeds the limited resources available to fulfill those wants. In other words, we go overboard. We just want to take so much from the environment, from what is around us, that we see the water dripping afterwards. But we're clever. We discover as well, through math, through accountables, through whatever, that we can produce more. And I will show you a little bit of how this happens. There are two other terms that we come in contact with. Trade-off, which is the idea that because of scarcity, producing more of one good or service means producing less of another good or service. You can only dedicate your time so much to one task, less to the other. If you want to make more of the other, you have to give away something. And that gives away to, go ahead, Mark, opportunity cost, which is the highest value alternative that must be given up to engage in an activity. All of us today, we made a choice to be here. Guess what? Pat yourselves in the back. I know there are a bunch of things that we could be doing at home, family, this and that, but we chose to be here. It's the price that we pay to be here today. And it's a choice. It's okay. We live, and as we wake up in the morning, we make our choices, we have our wants, and we do whatever we have to do. So it's a trade-off. We have to pay. We have to, there is a cost to everything. As Vanessa was saying, when we make good decisions, right, there are costs. Nothing is free. We have to balance it out. So we're going to show again in a chart on how we can live and how we can surpass the scarcity. Once we create this scarcity, we found already that there are ways that we can actually produce more and consume more. Go ahead. One more time. Okay. Let us take, for example, if you are a producer of strawberries and blueberries. Is that what I have? Strawberries and blueberries, right? You see the blue line is actually showing on how much you can produce, and the red line is how much your neighbor can produce. If we were to dedicate our time completely to production of one or the other, we can produce 20 pounds of one or 20 pounds of the other. That is if, once more, we're putting all our energy into one task, either producing strawberry or producing blueberry. Your neighbor has a little bit more capacity and is able to produce more. If your neighbor produces strawberries, will produce 30 pounds, and 50 pounds of blueberry if he or she decides to do one or the other. So again, deciding what am I going to do today, or am I going to put all my efforts, all my time into this task, or am I going to put on the other? So we see that there is a limitation, and if we go overboard, we see that we can only consume A or B. We can also break down our time and do some of one, some of the other as well. And that's how we see that beyond that point, we can actually satiate our needs and actually, let's say, tame in a little bit our scarcity. So let's go to the next one. As we said, we are clever. We're clever beings, and we're learning. You can go with twice, actually one more right there. Through trade, we can actually do more. We can actually consume more. We kept the old one, the first slide, which is actually how we produce in the same way. So let's look on the slide of that would be your left. That would be our production. If we were to produce or to consume without trade, we can do one or the other. We can break this down, right? As you can see in the first line down here, I'll try to read to you. Production and consumption without trade, we can do about 8 pounds and 12 pounds of blueberry. Our neighbor, 9 pounds and 42 pounds of blueberry. Production with trade, we can see that we only worry about one production. Let's say we will produce strawberry, and our neighbor will produce 60 pounds of blueberry, because we know the neighbor can do more blueberries than we can do, right? So what happens? Let us take now the next step, which is to trade. I'll give you some, you give me some, right? What happens? We'll then eat 10 pounds of strawberries and 15 pounds of blueberry. And our neighbor will eat 10 pounds of strawberry and 45 pounds of blueberry. You see that there's a positive number here. They're eating more and we're eating more. We're consuming more than we were before if we only produce a certain amount of the item, whatever we choose to be. It's just a representation that when we come together and we do things together, guess what? We're both better off. There's no way to run from this. We find this in our constitution of our bodies. We find this in the constitution of nature in itself. And we'll talk more about it. Next slide. And you can actually do twice, one more. The economist and philosopher Adam Smith, in this beautiful, very amazing book, it's pretty long, an inquiry into the nature and causes of the wealth of nations. Just remember the wealth of nations. If you want to Google it later on and try to read a little bit more, you will see that this man gives an example of specialization, or making perfection to its best, getting perfection to its best. He gives an example of a pin needle, or a pin, a simple pin. And let us take the production of a pin and break it down into four, let's say, in a way to produce the pin, we need to break down the production of it in 4 parts. Let's say the wire comes right of a pin and has the head, the wire, and the little sharp end comes in let's say a round wire. So you have the strength, you have to cut, you have to put the head, and you have to sharp the end, right? So there are 4 tasks. If we have to produce 1,000 pins a day, what would it be better? One person producing 1,000 pins, or 4 individuals that are specialized in each of these tasks to produce 1,000 pins? No questions asked. He's talking about, again, the specialization. He's bringing the idea of specialization. This is 1776, by the way. Okay? So we have to remember that this is, again, in the absence or contributions to the new era of industrialization, that he brings this text to us. But in this sense, in this idea of specialization, we also find cooperation. And we're here benefiting from everything. The chairs that we're sitting, this event and the tables, this podium, and the clothes that we're wearing as well. It's a product of this. It's a product of this specialization, thus this cooperation as well. It's pure synergy. It's the action that, and the interaction cooperation of two or more organizations, substance, or other agents to produce a combined effect greater than the sum of their separate effects. We live in this energy. Once more, our bodies is part of this energy. One muscle moves one way, the other moves the other way to give away this movement over here. And he's also an individual who brought this famous quote. If you come across, or if you haven't, it's beautiful. It is not from the benevolence of the butcher, the brewer, or the baker that we expect the dinner, our dinner, but from their regard to their own interest. We're now still in this ideal of, I need to sell this product. I need to give my time. I need to give my specialization to make money. And it's okay. But as Vanessa mentioned, Dr. Baker, Caper, excuse me, Dr. Baker, Caper, excuse me. He actually saw that he still had an interest even when he was helping others. He was a step ahead of us. He could see that he had an interest, and it's okay. We have interest. We had an interest to be here today. And we had to pay for our cars, we have to pay for our gas. And guess what? Somebody had to supply it. So we don't live alone. We need cooperation. We go to the next one. Emmanuel, in this book that we already mentioned to you, he brings the example of a business. Emmanuel talking about a business. Really interesting, right? We come here to talk to listen to spiritualization, right? To become less materialized. And then Emmanuel brings, as Adriano already mentioned, the house, a business, right? And he says the following: for any one of us, if we were to be nominated a CEO of a company, a governor of an institution, right? We don't need only the authority to conduct the business. And I will read so we don't lose the words that Emmanuel uses. He says the following: to administer require not only authority, but also guidance and discernment. Not only are theory and culture needed, but virtue and clear judgment, as well as a sense of proportion. It's not necessarily what we see in the world today, right? And we don't need to go into politics or anything like that. Jesus, as we learned with Spiritism, the governor of the planet Earth, conducted this very well, and it still does. We're here. It's not that Leo is here speaking that I mastered this already. I need the most. As the other said, we need the humility, right? I need to perhaps work in cooperation a little bit more. We are here working. Collectively, we're creating images, we're creating thoughts, we're creating feelings that we're constructing this event right now. And there's still more to come. Jesus, in his essence, again, did not lose the idea or create the ideal that he could do it all. He was an evolved spirit. He still is. But he used the help of those who perhaps, if we go and we study now through Spiritism or history, we'll find that they were not perfect. They perfected some of the areas. They got some enlightenment in some of the houses that Adriano mentioned to us, right? But they were not perfect. And Jesus was still able to see, already was able to see the essence of the perfection in those individuals. In Spiritism, in the third part of the Spirit's book, we see that we live and we have to follow a social law to evolve. We will evolve. We can't run from it. Perhaps we make decisions that we will be, oh, you know what, I don't want to do this now. But I don't want the responsibility, as Vanessa said earlier. We see this day in and day out. We have the impulses also that tells us, you know what, not right now, right? But one day, the pain, the struggles of life will push us towards this evolving condition. So we can go to the next one. As Adriano mentioned, that the will as a governor of all the other houses needs to be worked on it, right? We need, as Joanna D'Angelo also reminds us, in 2 chapters of the book Happy Life that we need to, first, number one, to actively work our will as well as control it. Emmanuel comes and tells us the following, that without cooperation, we cannot exercise our will. It's the advisor that perhaps we see in an institution, a governor of a state, of a organization, that perhaps needs the advisor. The will without the advisor called cooperation is not going to go anywhere. So when we think that we decide our lives by ourselves, when we think that we live our lives by ourselves, look around. Think again, and we will see the power of cooperation, thus far what we have received and what we receive in further. But it's not something, we can go one more. It's not something that we should do as we read in the quote, that because I have an interest, I will do so. It should be spontaneous. As Emmanuel says, spontaneous cooperation is the supreme ingredient of order. We do it because it's the right thing to do. It's okay to have certain interests because we want to evolve. If deep inside of us we think, I'm doing this because I want to evolve, it's okay. As long as we're not using of others' energy or creating scarcity, then it's okay. We want to evolve. It's okay. It's okay to be ambitious. But is my ambition putting somebody down? Is my ambition thinking that or doing things that will create disharmony on others? No. Then it's okay. One more time, please. From divine glory to subatomic particles, the universe may be defined as a connecting chain of lives that interweave with the greater life. From the micro to the macro. We already have seen it. We look at these flowers, and we see that perhaps if we take one flower, we'll see the beauty. But together, we'll make it much better. We actually take one flower from this bouquet over here, and we'll see that if we compare to the others, even when we compare things, we're utilizing the fact of cooperation. Because we can't compare if we don't have more than one. It's a beautiful thing for us to think, for us to really bring to our lives when we are listening to the music. We saw that when we were there, the artists this here, they were playing, that one note by itself does what? Cries for the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and the next one, to compose the beautiful song. When we were singing, one word will not do it. We need something else. It's the cooperation of the whole that needs to be exercised. One more. So, Emmanuel again reminds us that he who helps others will himself be helped, and will silently find that this is the most secure formula for readjustment in the evolutionary path. Adriano, without the help of others, he cannot work his humility, right, Adriano? No. I can't exercise anything, any virtue by myself. Think about that. Even on the fact of that we are trading, if we have to go buy lunch, or if we have to go do anything when we leave here today, think about it. Adam Smith also reminds us that perhaps we may not be very concerned with others in China. When we talk about consumption, we think a lot of people who are in China, the sweatshops and all those things. But think about the people that you can do well. He was also a philosopher as well. Think about the ones that you can do well right here with you. So when you go to the cashier of the supermarket, when you're talking to the server at a restaurant, right? When you're talking to a family member, their interaction of feelings. Think about this, that without which we wouldn't be here today. There were decisions made upon requests and propositions or anything that we received in the past that brought us here today. When we were thinking about all the years that we have been together, there are several people that I'm very, very humble to say that I owe quite a bit for me to be here with you guys. And I'm pretty sure you guys can also, deep inside of you, think that I am really thankful and grateful for the cooperation of God that proposed something new in our lives, that proposed an opportunity to say there is something beyond than a materialistic life. There is a more spiritual life on earth, that through numbers, that through the sciences that we already have mastered so much, and we're trying to master another one called Spiritism, we can do much better off knowing that through cooperation, we can exercise this will that we have inside of us. So through the music, let us try to exercise this cooperation. Thank you.
I'm going to apply passes on this microphone. We are going to play a very well-known piece that symbolizes cooperation, because by itself it's one piece. When you add another instrument, we see the interaction between two melody lines and how much more beautiful they become because they are interacting with one another. And so this piece is all about cooperation. And it was composed in the 1650s by a man named Johann Pachelbel, who was a big influence on Johann Sebastian Bach. So this piece is over 400 years old. So it's likely that this may not be even the first reincarnation that we've heard it. We've probably heard this piece in the previous life if we lived in Europe, because it was a very popular piece. You will notice this piece, the minute we begin, there's no lyrics on it. It's just instrumental. So, and we hope that you enjoy. And as we listen to it, pay attention to how the two melody lines interact with one another. And as they interact, they build on one another. They start very simple, then they become more elaborate, then they become very elaborate, and then they become extremely beautiful. And then after the music has presented all its different building blocks, then the composer does variations, like little plays, like he takes it from a different vantage point, from a different angle. So that's the idea of this piece, and we hope you enjoy.
Good afternoon.
Are you hungry?
Yes.
I hope for spiritual food because the material one is coming after our talk. I will try to be short so not to hold you very much. Thank you. Thank you for your presence. Thank you, dear Vanessa and everyone, for the kind invitation. I was not only surprised but very deep touched because I know how serious you are, and I know it's a big responsibility to be here, sharing a subject that I'm very far from mastering it, which is family relationships. But I guess this is the goal, right? Is really to study, is to meditate, so one day we can really, as we learn in Spiritism, to be a universal family. So the goal is to learn how to like one another, how to tolerate one another, how to accept one another, until one day we'll be able to truly, truly love one another as brothers and sisters, as we learn with our Creator. So when I picked this image, it was not by chance. I see families that like this beautiful flower with these little seeds that we actually have to spread. We have to make efforts and spread to become beautiful. And as we know, our family relationships are not beautiful yet because we are still in a world of trials and expiations, right? So we are still trying to love our past enemies, our adversaries, but this is the goal, to love one another. So let's go to the next slide. So, as it was already mentioned, this book, Thought and Life, which we can call Thought is Life, shows to us that it's really our thoughts, which is a reflection of who we are, that define and shape our lives. And this, do you mind going on more? So this book I'm going to read from the introduction. Thought and Life is what we have called it in the spiritual world, and it is with the same title that we offer it to our struggling fellow beings temporarily interned in the physical sphere. So this book, my friends, is a gift to us from the superior spirits. And as they mentioned here, Vanessa mentioned, this is used on the schools of regeneration. You know, maybe we took these courses before, but maybe we forgot. You know, so we are here to be reminded one more time, you know, and the spirits, they know we are struggling here. We want to, this time, make better. We want this time, you know, come back to the spiritual world, you know, better than when we arrived, right? So the purpose is to inform you yet again that it's our thought process, being a reflection of ourselves, which creates the kind of life we lead. So we cannot blame others. If our life is not good, hey, guess what? It's our own responsibility. It's the kind of connections we are making, it's the kind of thoughts we are having. And of course, if you observe your thoughts, you are going to see who you are as a spirit, as immortal spirit. So if I have thoughts of jealousy, of envy, or if I have thoughts of insecurity or low self-esteem, this shows who I am as a spirit. Consequently, I know what type of imperfections I have to work on to improve myself. Until one day, so there is hope. Through the millennia, okay, so it's not from one day to another. It's not even the work of one lifetime, but through the millennia, that we shall identify ourselves with the infinite wisdom and infinite love that constitutes the thought and life of our Father. So our Father here is our spiritual Father, Mother, Creator, who created us, who is all love and beauty and wisdom, and we are going to get there, but one day, not right now. So, here we have, it's a little analogy between us and these beautiful daisy flowers. So I guess here we have the roses, and we can see the perfection in nature, but why we cannot see the perfection in us yet? Because we're still undergoing evolution. We're still on the first steps. We are still children of God. We are not adults yet. So we are drafts. We are improving until one day we can really approach ourselves to our Creator. So this image, I really love images because for my mind it's easier to understand, and I'm here to share it with you what I was able to grasp on this book, which is very, very deep. Okay? So here you can imagine us as a beautiful garden of flowers, different flowers, and the beauty of diversity. We are all unique and beautiful, but we are undergoing different phases of evolution. So each one of us are in different phases of evolution until one day we'll become a perfect flower and approach our Creator, which is here represented by this light, the sunlight at the back. Okay? So, let's start on chapter 12 of the book, which is family. And I try to condensate here the first concept of this chapter, which shows us that family relationships are an important basis of our mental reflexes. So, mental reflexes, like our instincts, are what comes to our minds, the kind of thoughts I have. And these thoughts, they can be positive or negative, good or not so good, based on the past I had, the kind of experiences I have. And these, imagine our families right now. When you look at your families, you see that they are dear people that you are so happy to be with. You don't even need to talk with them. You just stay close to them and you feel good about it. And there are other members of your family. Maybe your families are different than mine, but my family, there are some members that are really difficult to be with. We cannot even approach or have a dialogue or conversation because we are really in a very different vibratory differences. But why we were born together? This is the question, and this chapter gives us the answers. Okay, so this past between us is not completely erased. We temporarily forget what we share together, otherwise we'll not be able to even, tolerate one another. So now we are put together to solve this kind of past toxic mental waves that we created to ourselves. So, we learn from the gospel according to Spiritism about our corporeal family. The Spirits tell us about two different families, let's say. The first one is spirits who incarnate in the same family, especially among close relatives, are most often sympathetic spirits connected by previous relationships that are expressed by their mutual affection during hurted life. I highlighted here, most often they are sympathetic spirits. So which means when we are put together among our relatives, they are very dear souls to us. Okay, we learned how to love one another before, or we shared activities. We did many things and they are very dear to our hearts. So the concept of incarnation, of being together here, it makes our relationships stronger. We learn a little bit more, how to love one another, how to create new images, new pictures in our evolutionary path. Okay? So first of all, to have a family, it is a bless. We cannot take for granted. There are many people, they don't have this blessing of having a family, of being even accepted to be born. Okay? Or if they were born, they were refused by their parents. It is not because their parents are not good, but sometimes it's very difficult, to overcome past differences and love one another. Okay, so first of all, let's be thankful for our families, even if they are not perfect, even if they are really crazy. They made us really, really upset sometimes, okay? But let's be thankful because they are the best we can have, okay? I know you're not very convinced and you're hungry, right? So, the other side, it may also happen that such spirits are complete strangers to one another, divided by past life antipathies that are now expressed as animosity to serve as a trial. So, you may say, oh, I don't find the first ones in my family, I just find the second ones. I guess you were not very lucky, but anyways, why you have strangers in your family, or why sometimes you feel a strange person in your family. It's like, I think God made a mistake. I don't fit here, It's like you are a fish in a different aquarium, right? That there is a reason for you to be there. It's not, what you want, but it's the best you can get it. It's what exactly you need, okay, to improve yourself. Okay. Move on to the next. So, we learn on this chapter that if you observe your families, you are going to find what they call traits or attributes, characteristics. So, we are on this cycle together, and if you really observe, you are going to find the members of your family with the same type of inclinations. You enjoy the same type of activities. You have to undergo the same type of experiences. You have a genetic code in common. So sometimes you have to go through diseases together, okay, to imperfections together. And most of the cases, you have, affection for these people or antipathies for these people, right? But no matter what, you have the same type of inclinations, okay? And by the law of attraction, you attract yourself to this environment, okay? The book tells us everyone is temporarily adjusted to a range of ability that is within their own capability to develop. So I will not be born among perfect people if I'm still very imperfect, because I will not be able to follow them. So I will be with the ones that they vibrate on the same level as me, and we share a past in common. We assimilate the experiences we need until our progress warrants proceeding to different achievements. So if you don't have the will, if you don't collaborate with one another, you'll not be able to move on to different types of experiences. So if you still don't know how to tolerate your brother, you'll be reincarnating with him until you learn to tolerate him. I'm sorry to tell you, and I know you are hungry now, but bear with me. It's not me, actually. It's the Spirit's telling us, okay? When I was studying, preparing, sometimes I was not very comfortable, okay, with the message. But here we go. Your thoughts determine your experience. This is the law of attraction. And this is what this book tells us about it. Is your thoughts a reflection of who you are and build the life you deserve. Sorry. The spirit reincarnates in the same sphere of their family relationships and meets again the links they had woven for themselves according to the thread of their thoughts and inclinations. So over and over again, the same message, okay? Next. So, the law of rebirth or the law of reincarnation, okay? What is this law about it? We learn with the spirits that there is a reincarnatory plan. And this reincarnatory plan, according to our needs, our affinities, our tendencies, our vibrations, all these aspects will be considered, okay? So from the social, environmental, spiritual, physical, emotional, and mental, okay? So observe, it's not by chance that we are born in USA or in Brazil or any other country here. It's not by chance that I'm born in a family that struggle financially speaking, or in a very rich family, or I come with physical or mental limitations, or if I have emotional imbalances and I struggle all my life to really, feel good about myself, to relate to one another. So all the aspects are planned according to our needs. And sometimes we imagine we are here forever, right? Because you can reach 100 years old, maybe not so long, but it's even if you pass 100 years, it's nothing in our eternity. So it's just a very quick experience, okay? And the spirits tell us that we can go over it. So when you incarnate in a family, it's because you have all the conditions to really learn how to make adjustments with these family members, okay? We are not putting a family to fail. We do have the right conditions, but we need will, we need humility, we need cooperation. We need to work in our inner transformation to be able to move on and learn with one another. So, usually the home environment brings together a group that reflects one another. This struck me, and I really did not like this, because normally when we point fingers and we say, I don't like my sister because, she's so proud, she's so full of herself. But the spirits tell us that we reflect one another. So what I see on the other is what I have still myself, or I had before, so I can recognize it, okay? So it's why we have to learn how to tolerate one another. By working together through the law of rebirth, we maintain the evolutionary existence through which we express ourselves in a space and time. Space and time, so it's not one lifetime, okay? So there is hope we can learn how to love one another. In our family group, we have links of happiness and the feathers of constraint and animosity. So it's in accordance to the gospel, so you can have sympathetic or antipathetic spirits in your circle. Also, the law of attraction works on the positive and on the negative way. The same way we attract spirits that are aligned with our good side, we attract spirits that are aligned with our not so very bright side, okay? So it's what we call a negative attraction. And we see on this chapter, by the same principle of attunement and attraction, alcoholics and kleptomaniacs, as well as delinquents and the morally sick, are born to those with whom they have spiritual affinity. Okay? So if you are among criminals, guess what? You may be a criminal yourself. But doesn't mean that you are going to fail. No, you guys can hold hands, improve, and move on. Okay? But it's not a work of a lifetime. This is what we have to understand, because we like magic solutions. We want from one day to another to be perfect and good and loving, and we are far, my friends, at least I am. They share their mutual deficiencies and painful trials. Many whose minds are unbalanced become drawn to the generic field of those whose company attracts them. So we cannot blame our parents, okay? We were attracted to this home. This affinity is caused by either by feelings of lower nature or by good deeds for which they are indebted before the law. Look at that. Sometimes you think you are very different than your family. Really? But let's assume that you are really different than your family members. Still, you are connected there because of guilt feelings, because maybe in the past you were responsible for their fault. Okay? Now you moved on, you move it, you improved yourself. But you cannot go without helping the others. And this is fraternity, like the Fraternity Without Borders here, which is a beautiful organization. And this is family, right? To be united and really help others without frontiers, without borders, without color, without race, without gender, without, imagine that, if our African brothers and sisters, they were born there, it's because they deserve it. So I have nothing to do with them. No, you do, because you have to learn, how to help and how to love. Okay? It's true that they are struggling there for a reason, okay? But it's also your role, because you know more, to go there and help. Because maybe they need your help to be able to change their reality. Okay? So, here it's, when I was building these moral degeneration families, I want to have a light image. So I picked a hypothetical family of cats, which is actually is my experience, I'm still learning how to love my pets so I can move on to other forms of families. And I don't think it was a good idea to put my pictures here or pictures of my family members. So here in the middle, we can see ourselves in the present life. Not very happy, we are struggling, now we really have to learn how to work, how to self-sacrifice, how to be patient and humble. But guess what? This is just the consequence of our past, because in the past, okay, we together, as our family members and relatives, we enjoyed disturbing vices. We enjoyed, in a collective way, we created that. So here you have this beautiful cat here, or the cat to be in the future, when the cat to be all perfect and loving and happy, you can make an analogy with ourselves. Okay, this is the present, shows the past. And what you do in the present is going to build your future. Okay, so nothing is really by chance. So I'm going just to show this. So the past, it is the cause of a sickly genetic environment. The present is where we feel these toxic mental reflexes. And in the future, as we learn how to be more spiritualized, we are going to create new mental reflexes. The same way we have instincts, our minds, they are used to think in a way, so it's why we have to change our reasoning. If you don't make changes, nothing will change around you, okay? So you'll be coming back on the same type of cycle and vice, okay? So here it's an example we find on the book Missionaries of the Light, and probably you all know about Sigismundo, or the reincarnation of Sigismundo. And this is just to give us a real example of a family. When you look at this image and you see this very cute baby, Sigismundo, you cannot imagine what this baby did in the past. Okay? But we learn that in one of the couple's previous incarnations, Sigismundo had killed Adelino, his current father now, and Raquel ended up in prostitution. So he was the cause of the fall. Okay? They passed away with an intensive hate vibration, yet while they were in the spiritual realm, the couple promised to receive Sigismundo as a son in their current reincarnation. So here is how our Creator, with all love and goodness, do put together spirits that in the past, created issues with one another. So now they can make adjustments. Now they have to learn with one another. So if you can imagine what type of mental reflection these spirits are going to have. So they will not remember on this family time what they did in the past, but they are going to have the feelings, and they are going to have conflicts, because I can imagine that the father, you not feel very comfortable with this baby, and he's going to ask himself, how come I don't even like to hold my baby? Why? And maybe Sigismund is going to have mental reflex of guilt feelings, because his spirit knows what he did in the past. Or I can see jealousy on this family, because the mother, she was a prostitute in the past, and she was caused by the spirit of this baby. So all these family issues are very complex issues and are not created in one lifetime. They really come, incarnation after incarnation. So it's sometimes it can be, really a millennia. It can be many, many lives. So, and if they cannot learn how to love one another on this life, they are going to come back again and come back again, until they really can erase the common past mistakes and learn how to tolerate and how to love one another. Because the whole idea we learn with the spirits is like our families, they are our first laboratories, okay? And as we grow up, we build other families, and we choose the family of friends and people that we have affinity. Is really our initial families that shape who we are. And if we don't really solve the issues with our families, we are going to struggle all our lives and not be able to really grow as spirits. So, and you can see many psychological issues. We have to learn how to forgive. And to forgive is not to accept what they did to us. It's not to be in agreement, but to let it go. Any negative feelings is really understand that they did the best they could, because they did not know better. So maybe I didn't have the best parents, but it's exactly what I needed, what I deserved to have. Okay, and they did the best they could do. So, and this is the same with our families, the ones we are creating. There are no parents that they want to fail. They want to do their best, and they do their best. But it's so difficult because we are still learning. We still don't know how to love. We still don't know how to tolerate. So we have to be, more accepting. So, and I like something that I saw from Chico Xavier. He was saying that we have to accept people the way they are. And we do have the duty to improve ourselves every day. And this is exactly what we have to do. We can only improve ourselves. We cannot change others. We have to accept people, and we have to keep doing our parts, okay, so we can move on in our progress. So, with this, I kind of summarized this chapter, or at least it was what I was able to grasp. So please read, meditate, and like every other spiritist book or this knowledge that come to us as gifts, as blessings, we need to study, we need to dedicate time to meditate, because it's not natural for us, okay? We're still on the first steps as immortal spirits. So this message in the family, you'll find on this book, Our Daily Bread, and it says the following: the family struggle is a fundamental problem in human redemption. How can we be benefactors for 100 or 1,000 people if we have not yet learned to serve 5 or 10? This is a logical question that applies to all sincere disciples of Christianity. Good preachers and bad servant are two titles that do not go together. The apostle recommends being caring amid household activities. However, he is not referring to the caring that weeps without courage when faced with afflictive challenges, but the caring that recognizes problematic areas in the home and strives to eliminate them, awaiting the divine determination at the right time. We know of many brothers and sisters who feel spiritually lonely amongst persons connected to their personal group through blood ties, and who as a result become very discouraged. Don't be, my friends. It is crucial, however, to examine these temporary corporeal bonds and realize that there are no casual unions in the family household, a place where, for the time being, saving and regenerating trials prevail. Thus, no one should disdain the sacred opportunity of service, even if overwhelmed by incomprehension. It would be a grave wrong to overlook the infinite possibilities of this illuminating endeavor. We cannot possibly help the whole world if it cannot be useful in the little home where the Father's will has temporarily placed us. Before making a great personal contribution to worldwide service, disciples should learn to work on behalf of their family members right now, knowing that such an effort represents an essential achievement. And this is all we are aiming to be, one family, a universal family. Thank you.
Did you know that singing helps to reduce hunger?
Wow.
It does. And if we sing very intensely, the hunger almost goes away completely. Because it's family, we want to talk about this song Amazing Grace, which is one of the most played songs in the entire English language. And it's such a foundational bedrock of American religiosity and spirituality. And I'm not going to go long into the history of it because we can talk about it later, because I know that the priority right now is to feed our stomachs. But, like I said, if we sing really intensely, we will reduce the hunger a little bit. So I invite you to feel the song as we sing together and meditate on the lyrics of it.
much knowledge and inspiration have we received today in this first session. We're so thankful for our speakers and our musicians who have given us renewed understanding and the feelings of joy, courage, and hope.
Now we will take our 1 hour break and we will resume our therapeutic moment at, when it's 1 hour from now, math test.
2:30.
2:30. You guys passed the math test. Please take a moment to look at the books that are available for you to enjoy and the t-shirts by the organization of the Fraternity Without Borders. This is an organization that has been saving lives in many at-risk communities around the world. Enjoy.
Thank you.